All right, this is Pastor Isaac here in House of Love Fellowship, Entebbe, and I would love to just give a brief story about my experience yesterday. After the training yesterday, I went out just to meet a friend to discuss some few issues about some business, and when this friend of mine came late to the meeting, so I'm like, why did you come late? And he was like, I came late because I was attending to my friend who was very ill. So I picked interest in knowing what the illness was. And here he tells me the story that the friend is diabetic, and that the diabetes yesterday, the sugar levels were so high. And so she had to rush to the hospital where she was given a drip, I think, for an IV for treatment. And so spent the whole day there. She went there when her eyes were actually going blind and she couldn't see. So I picked interest in getting to know the story. So I tried to ask her details about when did she discover that she was diabetic, and told me about 6 months ago. So there I was with a victim before me, and I was happy to now embark on giving advice. So I kept asking questions here and there. But then what was good for me is that I had just gotten that information from the classroom in the training, and I chose to transfer it to this friend of mine so he could share with the patient. And so I told the story of the river, and so slowly I began telling them, when a river is flowing and then the people keep throwing in dirt, and then there's another group that keeps removing the dirt as others throw in, others keep removing, and so the ones removing the dirt get tired, and then they let the river to just be now contaminated in any way it wants. So eventually I told them that in our blood system, that's the same way we feel. We have insulin that God put in our body that takes away the sugar from our blood. But if you keep eating the sugar and putting too much sugar, the insulin gets tired of removing the sugar, and eventually it lets the sugar to be in the body, and that's how diabetes can. But of course I explained the background that diabetes can be, eating habits as a cause of it, if the eating habits are very poor, or it will also be family line that could be having diabetes behind. And actually I got to realize that the mother of this particular patient was diabetic, so it could be coming from that background. But then my interest was now to control, because 6 months down the road isn't bad, and I'm like, okay, can she now begin to control by improving on her diet, now remove all the sugars from her diet as much as she can. And the friend told me, no, she loves eating rice and chapati and some other meals. And I'm like, oh, so does she know that what she eats is actually sugar? So I broke down everything, and I'm like, eating anything to do with wheat, with rice, with cornmeal, eating anything that is sweet potatoes, like here, eating millet bread here, all that is actually sugar. And this friend of mine was looking at me all stunned when I explained all these things after learning what we learned yesterday. And then he goes like, wow, are you a doctor? And I'm like, no, I'm not a doctor. I'm simply trying to give you information that I've gotten just from the training that we have had. And this is what we are out to do in our community, to help people to get to understand that illnesses are out here, but if we take care of ourselves, we can actually mitigate or prevent them. So I gave the advice on how to eat, and I'm like, okay, from today, let her just make portions of what she eats in terms of sugar to control. Eat less of the carbohydrates and eat more of vegetables that do not have sugar. I even advise her that whether it is processed sugar in drinks or direct sugar, and also fruits that are natural, they all have sugar. So she doesn't have to say, I'll eat more of the fruits which are sweet and leave the other sugar. All those contribute to the sugar. So I emphasized cutting down the sugar, eating in portions, drinking a lot of water, and then I also advise about how to wear the nice shoes to avoid hurting herself, to avoid injuries. All these I mentioned, and my friend was so amazed seeing the help. And he promised from yesterday, he's going to speak to the friend and advise. And I also promised, if need be, let them invite me so I can speak to the patient more often and more much. So I was so happy. I spent almost 40 minutes talking about that, and that's why my friend was so amazed as to why I got that kind of knowledge and how I could share that in just all that time, and talked about the meals. And I went ahead, of course, to talk about other meals, but basically that was my interest. So I am happy to be, sharing this information with as many people as I can. And I think when I get on to teach, I'll be a great teacher. I'm so happy to do that. Thank you, guys. I Help International. Very good. Happy to see you. Happy to be here. Thank you.